Good evening and welcome back to another semester of the Pioneer Sideline, the longest running show on UView. I'm Allison Schubert. This semester we're excited to bring you the latest in all things Point Park regional and national sports news, as well as an exciting new segment featuring the weirdest and wackiest mascots hosted by our own Sarah Gibson. Tonight we will start with a team that's been on a hot streak to start their season. To discuss, we bring in the first reporter of this new school year, Nicole Pampina. Nicole, thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me back.
So, to start off, how have the first handful of matches gone?
They have gone surprisingly well. They're 7-1 right now. Granted, those are all non-conference games. However, those were from two tournaments they played ahead of the semester, one at Michigan Dearborn, the other at Rio Grande. Only lost one, and one game went to 31-24. So they're doing pretty well. They are battling. It's a new team. They have Bridget Bielik back as coach, but I think it's a strong start. I'm happy with it so far.
And how have the freshmen and transfers, all the newbies, kind of meshed with the team so far?
So about that, this is an older team this year. There's a roster of 13. 10 of those are juniors and seniors. There's only one freshman and then two sophomores so far. So it's an older team. That experience is going to come in handy. But we got a lot of returners, a lot of strong standouts so far, and the one freshman, Taylor Small, plenty to say about her.
That was my next question. Any standouts? Can you kind of elaborate on that?
She is, she's an outside hitter. She is from Amherst, Ohio, and already hit a career high of 20 kills against WVU Tech. Already RSC Attacker of the Week. She looks like she's going to be a strong addition, 3.06 kills per set. It's reminiscent of Ashley Taylor. If we remember her from last season, we said her name pretty much every other word of our mouth was Ashley Taylor, and I cannot wait to watch her play. Their first home game is next week. They're playing Salem International, and I want to see her more than anything right now.
Now, as someone who's followed the team for a couple years, we're showing our age here. Do you have any predictions for this team? What do you think they're going to do? Do you think they can break that quarterfinal streak?
I think, like I said, the age is going to help. The experience is going to help, and having Bridget as a coach, I mean, we saw the benefits of that last year already. Also, Destiny Tucker, she was a senior. She graduated one of the middle hitters. She's returning as an assistant coach in her first year. So that's bringing a new strength to the middle. Jalzen Rozier is coming back. Jada Jones is coming back. And in some of those games during those two tournaments, they would sometimes run as many as 8 attackers. And having that spread out talent and that even strength is so crucial to winning games. And it's not all heavy on Erica Gums and Ashley Taylor's this time. So I think that's going to make a huge difference this season.
Now, on the flip side of things, what are some weaknesses that you have seen so far with this team?
Now, that being said, I still worry about confidence. We mentioned that a lot last year, just knowing that they can win. These were all, again, non-conference games, so once we hit that first conference game next Tuesday, that's when we'll really start to see, you know, the team that they are come out, the IU Southeast games, the IU Kokomo games, those big ones that are later in the year, that's where the true colors will show. And I think that'll show if this is a new team with much more confidence or if they still have those weaknesses to build upon.
All right, well, thank you so much, Nicole. When we come back from the break, we'll find out how the first few games have gone for both Point Park soccer teams. Don't go anywhere.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family. Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Krupp alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
welcome back. We're heading from the student-centered gym to Highmark Stadium to talk Point Park soccer. First up, the women. To tell us how the women have fared in their opening games, we bring in Taylor Spirito. Taylor, thanks for joining us again this semester.
Thanks for having me back.
So, first of all, same thing. How have the team's done so far? Can you recap some of those games for us?
So Point Park is actually 0-4 right now. They had their first 3 games away, and then their home opener was this past Saturday at Highmark Stadium. They put up their first 2 goals of the season in that game. They did lose 2-7. So they definitely haven't been up to par with what we expected coming out of last season. So I'm excited to see how they're going to pick this up. Last year, they started off 0-4 as well, but they ended up having a winning record. So if that goes to show with what this team is capable of, then I would love to see what they're going to do going forward.
Why do you think they've been struggling so much so far?
So like I said, they scored their first 2 goals of the entire season on Saturday during the home opener. They had goals from Taylor Goldstrom and Gabby Widman. Now, their defense, I noticed by being at the game, was very, very, very up to par with what we would expect. You know, they had some great defensive plays. Ashton Webb had some great saves, but they just couldn't generate that offense. It might have been because Siena Heights, who we played in the home opener, their defense was also really, really exceptional. But, you know, we need to get that offense rolling because, you know, defense wins games, but you're also not going to win any games if you don't have any goals.
Of course. Now, you did mention a few names. Who have been some of the standout kind of key components so far, both offensively and defensively?
So I mentioned Goldstrom and Widman. They had the first 2 goals of the season, and they played exceptional during the home opener. But Chloe Bowser, you have to mention her when you talk about Point Park women's soccer. She had the corner kick that led to Gabby Widman's goal in the first half, and she had some great defensive plays. I also noticed Kelsey McHugh and Nikki Pollins. They had some really fantastic plays. They didn't play, they weren't starters, but as soon as they came in, you could tell that they were making a difference with our girls, with, you know, defending and producing offense with the other team. They just made their mark as soon as they came onto the field. So I would look out for those 5 in particular, again, especially Chloe Bowser. You, like I said, you can't mention Point Park women's soccer without mentioning her name.
Of course. And something different for the women's soccer team this year is a brand new head coach, Maggie Kuhn, taking a different coaching opportunity for her. But we are wishing her all the best. But this new coach, how do you think she's fitting in, and do you think she's finding her place here?
So it's really, you know, hard to tell this early on with that kind of stuff. You know, they are 0-4, like I said, though last year they were as well. What I noticed, they don't have as many girls as they did last year. They actually had to cancel most of their reserve games because they don't have enough players for that. I don't know if that is telling of how the new coach, Coach Moreski, is doing, but, you know, it goes to show how this team's mentality is. So I'm hoping that with her being in her first year, she will be able to uplift them, you know, really focus on that mentality, because the roster is not something that's completely in her control. So I'd love to see her take on that challenge of getting this team's morale up.
And then finally, they were 0-4 last year as well, and they turned things around. How do they need to do that again as conference play starts?
Like I said, they need to generate that offense. Like I said, you're not going to win games if you don't put any soccer balls into the net. They need to keep up that defensive play as well. I mean, like I said before, defense really does win games when it comes down to a heavily offensive game. So if you make those key saves, you make those key defensive plays. I would love to see Ashton Webb. Like I said, she made some great saves already. I would love to see her make even more great plays. They didn't have a ton of shots on net last game during the home opener, but I would love to see like those shots that do make it past her, that defense coming up, those plays that, you know, could make it past her. I'd love to see her make a few dives, make a few stops. I just really think they need to take everything that they've got going and solidify it all around.
All right, well, thank you very much, Taylor. Transitioning over to the men's side, we bring in Editor-in-Chief of the Globe, Dara Collins, who's making both her Pioneer Sideline debut and her UView debut.
Hi. Thank you for
Hi,
having
Dara.
me.
Thanks for coming on. This is exciting. I finally forced her to come on TV for once.
Yeah, this is definitely different. More of a print person, but here I am on the air, and I'm very happy to be here.
Good. So, talking men's soccer, how have they been doing so far? Are they faring the same as the women?
The women definitely need to up their game a little bit. The men, they have been doing great. They are 2-1 right now, so I mean, it's a little early to tell, I suppose. But I think they have the confidence that they need this season to really go far.
Who's been leading the pack so far?
So Wessel Rietveld, he has been doing great, even off of a season of an injury. And it's incredible to see him come back and go to a game and score 2 goals. And they were both in the first half. He scored them early, he scored them strong, and he's super excited to be back. So it's just nice to have a senior leader out there for them to look at.
All right, Dara, what are your predictions for the rest of the season?
So I think with the recruiting class that they have and the confidence that they have in themselves for this season, I think they're going to go really far. Unfortunately, they haven't snapped their quarterfinals curse, as what I am calling it, and they haven't been able to get past the first round of the RSC playoffs in the last 3 years. So I'm really hoping that they can do that now with Wessel back, with all the excitement that they have in the recruiting class and the returners. They've all been close. They've all been working together in the preseason, and they just won 11-0 in their latest game. So that's super exciting. That's 2 shutouts in a row. So I think that's going to set the pace and the tone for the rest of the season.
Well, thank you so much for coming on after I forced you. When we come back, we'll get an update on our regional and national sports news when Taylor Spirito comes back in studio and Sarah Gibson will debut the brand new Mascot Mania segment. We'll be right back.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family. Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
Welcome back to Sideline. Football season's back and baseball season's winding down. Taylor Spirito's back in studio with everything you need to know in regional and national sports news. Taylor?
Thanks, Allison. The Steelers opened Week 1 of the 2019-2020 season in Foxborough to face off against the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. And to say things didn't go well would be an understatement. It took the Patriots 3 minutes and 8 seconds to take a 7-0 lead, followed by 2 consecutive field goals by Stephen Gostkowski. New England's offense kept pushing the Pittsburgh defense, and their defense did not let up on the Steelers' offense as the first half ended with the Pats being up 20-0. Chris Boswell put the Steelers on the board early in the second half with a 19-yard field goal, but it wouldn't be enough as Tom Brady and the Patriots went on to hand the Steelers their first loss of the season, 33-3. The Pats and the Steelers are reigniting their rivalry in a variety of ways this season, including the Antonio Brown saga, but we'll get more into that during Case of the Week. But moving on to the ballpark, the Pittsburgh Pirates are in the middle of a 4-game series with the San Francisco Giants in the Golden State. While neither one of these teams have hopes to go beyond the regular season, the Black and Gold have been looking forward to the future, especially with some of their key contributors being put through the ringer. Pitcher Chris Archer has been on the injured reserve since August 21st for a shoulder inflammation and, according to General Manager Neil Huntington, has been going through treatments so he can finish out the season. Right fielder Gregory Polanco has been on the injured list since June 22nd with a shoulder injury. He's since had surgery, and Huntington said that he will need a full offseason of rehab to get back to his full potential. And on a national scale, the NHL is getting ready for its season by holding various prospect tournaments and beginning training camps. But some players aren't quite ready to hit the ice. Many notable names throughout the league are still restricted free agents, meaning that they have to sign a new contract in order to start their season. While some players who entered the offseason as restricted free agents eventually signed, most have still not, including Mitch Marner from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Charlie McAvoy from the Boston Bruins, Mikko Rantanen from the Colorado Avalanche, and Braden Point from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Restricted free agents must sign a new contract by December 1st to be eligible to play for the season, and time is ticking before the season starts for those teams to get some of their star players back onto the ice.
Now, Taylor, I know it's only week 1 of the NFL season, but I want to get some early predictions for the NFL and for the Steelers. What are you thinking?
So for the Steelers in particular, the one thing that they really need to work on is their defense. They aren't going to win games like we've seen with this Patriots game. They're not going to win games with that awful of a defense. I know that there's also been some talks about Ben Roethlisberger. Players have been making predictions that he's going to retire by the end of the season, that his head's not fully in it. The whole team is based around their quarterback. So if Big Ben isn't in it, then the whole team might end up falling apart. But like you said, it is week 1, so we'll see where things go. They always do lose to the Patriots, so I don't think this should be a sure tell sign of how the season's going to go. But with the season in general and the NFL in general, I think that some of these teams are going to come and surprise you. I mean, the Browns have every key piece that they need to make a good season. Obviously, didn't capitalize on in week 1 with a loss to Tennessee, but they've got the pieces on paper. They just need to learn to put it together with all these new players and a brand new head coach. So I think that they're going to really come out and surprise everyone. The Saints put together an impressive win over Houston by coming back within the last few minutes of the game. So I think they're going to be on the lookout. You can't count Drew Brees out quite yet. And of course, be on the lookout for the Patriots. They have Tom Brady still. They've got a ton of returning players. And like we said, they've got Antonio Brown. So you never know what they're going to pull out of a hat. So be on the lookout for all of those teams and be on the lookout for the Steelers to hopefully make a rise out of the next few weeks.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Now we will turn things over to Sarah Gibson for the debut of her brand new segment, Mascot Mania. Sarah.
Hello, my name is Sarah Gibson and welcome to Mascot Mania, and here's your mascot news. Cuyahoga Community College in Ohio has introduced their new mascot, Stomp, a Triceratops. The new mascot for Tri-C was chosen by students, faculty, and alumni by poll. And after a year of waiting, students finally saw Stomp's debut this past Monday, September 9th, when he made his first public appearance, and plans many more for the rest of the week. While this meant ridding Tri-C of their previous identity, as the challengers, it looks like Stomp will be a favorite for years to come. And for this week's Mascot of the Week, I give you the Carn City Gremlin, the mascot for my alma mater, Carn City High School. What is a gremlin, you ask? That's a great question, one that no one seems to know the answer to. On team shirts and car decals, he's a cute little fairy, but at the mascot at games, he looks more like he's a Cheshire cat who's caught rabies. And inside the school, there are murals all over depicting him differently, like this. What is this? I think if the gremlins want to be as intimidating as possible, they should really steer into the feral, like the gremlins from the movie Gremlins, or maybe something like this. Oh, very funny. Well, that's all we have time for here on Mascot Mania. Join me next week for all of your mascot news. Allison?
Thanks, Sarah. I preferred that last gremlin, if you ask me. After the break, our first case of the week since spring. Is Antonio Brown money hungry or in need of a doctor? We'll debate after this.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government, by the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA.
Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts and don't miss a minute of Point Park athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park athletics.
3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, UView is for you.
Welcome back. It's that time of the show for everybody's favorite segment, Case of the Week. This week, are Antonio Brown's actions fueled by money or a legitimate mental health issue? Or even yet, is there a different motive? To discuss, we bring in Dara Collins, Taylor Spirito, and Nicole Pampina. Thank you, ladies, for coming back.
Thank you.
Yes. So, first thoughts, just off the base. Money, mental, ego. What do you think? Nicole, we'll start with you.
He needs help. Should I run with that?
Well, that's it for now.
That's it?
We'll come back.
I think it's his ego.
Okay.
I also think it's his ego.
All right, now we will explain. All right, Nicole, go ahead.
Just judging from his social media posts, I reviewed them, his Instagram specifically, and just the cryptic writing, and there's one video he posted, and it was saying, like, you know, you're a football player, and he's like, no, I'm Antonio Brown, I'm a person too, and I feel like it just, to me, it seems like a cry for help. It came off as a cry for help, and that is where he's only had one concussion. He had a really bad one in 2016, so it's not like he took too many hits to the head like other football players, but I do believe that this is an issue where he needs someone, maybe he is an egomaniac, it's narcissism, I'm not sure exactly what, but I think he needs checked out mentally in some way for his actions, because otherwise, I mean, it's getting to the point where someone needs to step in and do something.
And some people were on like the Instagram comments and stuff commenting on that video saying, well, you know, all of the doctor people in the comments were like, maybe he has CTE, and I was like, that's a little extreme, I think, but I mean, it could be. He could be mentally ill.
So my whole thing is after, especially seeing the video from when he got released by the Raiders, where he, you know, read it on his phone or someone read it to him, and he hopped up out of his seat, ran through his house into the backyard, was jumping up and down, all this stuff. I honestly think, I don't think it's necessarily money, I think it's his ego. Whenever he was here in Pittsburgh, we've always treated him like royalty, and that he was the top dog in whatever he did, and that he could do no wrong. So I feel like after so many years of that happening, it just got to his head, and you see his social media presence, how he just acts so high and mighty. And now that he's with the Patriots, that was his goal all along. You know, there's so much talk about how the Steelers just wouldn't trade him there, so they traded him to the Raiders, and they treated the Raiders like garbage so he could go to the Patriots. Like, I think this is all just some master scheme that's fueled by his ego.
Dara, what about you?
So kind of going off of what Taylor said, it's just, he's been making headlines for all the wrong reasons for a while now. He was making headlines because he was throwing things out of his window in Florida. He was making headlines because he was speeding on McKnight Road. And he's just, I don't think he cares what the reason is that he's being talked about, but he is being talked about. So he's going to treat the Raiders like trash, and he's going to be talked about. He's going to go to the Patriots, and he's going to be talked about, because that's exactly what Steelers fans didn't want. So I think he's just really looking for any reason for anybody to say his name.
And I think the biggest problem I have with it is that he's trying to bring other people down in his rise. So like he was talking bad about Mike Tomlin, he was talking bad about Ben Roethlisberger, some of the big names of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and as we all know, the Steelers have a pretty global fan base. So when you have somebody who we treated like royalty saying like, well, Mike Tomlin is trash, Ben Roethlisberger is racist and trash, like that has a really bad rep on the Steelers then, as he's going to the Patriots to try and win a Super Bowl.
And that's such a weird dynamic too, where, you know, he was here for so long, everyone loved him and loved the 3 Bs, Bell, Brown, Ben, and obviously that's torn apart now, but
just a bit.
Yeah, but everyone loved those guys. So the fact that he's now going back on all of that and treating his former teammates, not even just on the Steelers, but from the Raiders, like garbage. Like, there's got to be something like, he has to know that there's a boundary and that he's totally crossing it. And again, I honestly just think it's because he has one of the biggest egos in sports.
See, to me, that's like a red flag. It's like, that's not normal behavior. We know that's not normal behavior, and because it wasn't really as big of a problem years ago when, you know, he was loved. He was like the Juju Smith-Schuster at one point. And then you get young players like him, like James Conner, and I think that did affect his ego. Obviously, that'll threaten anyone. But that's where there is a problem that needs addressed, the way I see it. I mean, like, that's to run up when the Raiders released him and run through his backyard. I saw that video too, and my God, I mean, who does that?
Yeah, like who's excited about losing their job?
Yes. But then you have, what was it, 2-3 minutes later? Well, I don't know what the number was, that the Patriots signed him. I mean, come on, that was orchestrated.
Oh,
if we want to get into that.
Of course it was. But that is beyond me, unfortunately. Thank you guys so much for coming on. That is all the time we have for this week. Be sure to join us next week at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and of course, the same Pioneer Sideline.